Before we begin, represent the legends of Harlem. Official Reelz apparel is now available. Grab yours through the link in the description below and help support future episodes of The Glow. Harlem afternoon. A thin ribbon of smoke rises above the rooftops. At first, no one pays attention. Cars continue moving through the intersection. Children continue playing beneath an open fire hydrant. A delivery truck rattles down the avenue. The piano in the upstairs apartment continues, one careful scale after another. Then, a woman leans from a third-floor window several buildings away. She smells something, looks toward the hallway behind her. Her expression changes.
There is one place you have not been. Only there, you shall find you surrender.
Smoke curls beneath an apartment door. Thin at first, almost harmless, then thicker. The woman steps into the hallway. "Mr. Carter?" She approaches the door, touches the knob, jerks her hand back. Hot. "Mr. Carter!" She pounds on the door. "Mr. Carter, open the door!" A low, violent crack comes from inside. The woman freezes. A line of flame appears beneath the door. Then, the door explodes outward. Fire rolls into the hallway. The woman screams. Harlem Street. A window shatters. Glass rains onto the sidewalk. Smoke pours from the third floor. A man looks up. "Fire!" Another resident runs into the street. "The building's on fire!" The quiet block erupts into chaos. People rush from storefronts. Parents grab children. Drivers abandon their cars. Someone runs toward a corner payphone. "There's a fire! Apartment building on 125th! People are still inside. Hurry!" Daddy Green's Pizza, same time. The afternoon crowd fills the restaurant. Marcus places a pizza into a cardboard box. Leroy stands beside the counter, carefully checking a delivery slip. The faint sound of distant shouting reaches them. Marcus looks up. "You hear that?" Leroy listens. A distant siren has not yet begun, only voices. Then, someone runs past the front window. Another person follows. "Customer, something's wrong." Marcus moves toward the door. Leroy follows him outside. Marcus steps onto the sidewalk. Several blocks away, dark smoke rises between the buildings. Oh, Lord. A woman runs toward them. "There's people trapped inside." Marcus immediately removes his apron, hands it to a customer standing near the doorway. "Watch the shop." He turns to Leroy. "Come on." They run toward the smoke. Marcus and Leroy race through the neighborhood. The smoke thickens with every block. People rush in the opposite direction. A mother carries a barefoot child. An elderly man coughs into a handkerchief. Leroy slows long enough to steady him. Leroy, are you all right, sir? I'm fine. Go! Leroy looks toward the burning building, then continues running beside Marcus. Flames crawl from several third-floor windows. Black smoke rolls across the roof. Residents pour from the front entrance, some barefoot, some wearing night clothes, some carrying nothing. The street has become a desperate rescue operation. Neighbors drag mattresses beneath windows. Men carry buckets from a nearby hydrant. Women gather frightened children. A young man attempts to run through the front entrance. A burst of flame drives him backward. He falls onto the sidewalk. Several neighbors pull him away. My brother's still up there. A woman leans from a second-story window. Help us, please. A little boy cries beside her. Marcus takes in the scene. Where's the fire department? They're coming! Marcus points to two men. Get that ladder against the building. You, help me move these people back. The men obey. Marcus does not hesitate. He begins organizing the chaos. Leroy kneels beside the young man who is driven from the doorway. Can you breathe? My brother, he's on the third floor, room 3C. Leroy looks toward the entrance. Smoke pours through the doorway. Leroy! Leroy looks back. Marcus sees exactly where his son is looking. Help me out here. Leroy nods. Yes, Daddy. He joins Marcus. Together, they guide residents away from the building. Moments later, the ladder is raised beneath the second-floor window. It is too short. The second-floor woman looks down in terror. Second-floor woman. Please, my son can't breathe. A neighbor climbs halfway up the ladder. Heat forces him down. I can't reach her. Leroy studies the building. A metal awning extends beneath the window. A narrow decorative ledge runs along the brick. Marcus notices Leroy calculating the distance. Marcus, Leroy, the ladder will reach the awning. Marcus, that awning won't hold you. It only has to hold me for a little while. Marcus, no. Leroy looks at the crying child in the window, then back at his father. Daddy, I said no. The child begins coughing violently. Leroy's face changes. Not dramatic, not heroic, simply decided. Marcus steps closer. Leroy, they cannot get down. The firemen are coming. I know. Leroy looks toward the empty end of the street. Still no fire engines. But they are not here yet. Marcus grabs his arm. You don't know what's waiting for you inside that building. No. But I know they need help. Marcus's grip tightens. For the first time in the episode, Leroy sees fear in his father's eyes. You listen to me. You help them from out here. You understand? Leroy looks toward the woman and child again. The child has disappeared beneath the smoke. I am sorry, Daddy. Marcus knows what that means. Leroy pulls free. He runs toward the ladder. Leroy climbs rapidly. The ladder shakes beneath him. Neighbors hold it steady. He reaches the top, steps onto the awning. The metal groans under his weight. Marcus, Leroy! Leroy carefully crosses the awning. Heat pours from the window above him. He reaches the decorative ledge, pulls himself upward. The woman reaches through the smoke. Second floor woman, please take him! She pushes the coughing child toward the window. Leroy braces himself. Give him to me. She hesitates. Second floor woman, you'll drop him. No, ma'am. You must trust me. The woman looks into Leroy's calm face. Slowly, she lowers the child. Leroy catches him. The awning buckles. The crowd gasps. Leroy shifts his weight, keeps the boy pressed against his chest. Hold on to me. The child wraps both arms around his neck. Leroy lowers himself onto the ladder. Neighbors guide them down. Marcus reaches up and takes the boy. The child coughs, breathes. His mother remains at the window. Please. Leroy turns and climbs again. No, you got the boy. Leroy keeps climbing. Leroy! The awning tears away from one side of the building. Leroy leaps from the ladder to the window ledge, grabs the woman's arm. Come toward me. I can't. Yes, you can. She shakes her head frantically. Your son is waiting for you. She looks down. The child cries for her. Leroy holds out both hands. Please. The woman climbs through the window. Leroy steadies her. They descend together. The moment her feet touch the sidewalk, she rushes toward her child. The crowd cheers. Leroy steps away. No celebration, no smile. He looks back at the building. A window on the third floor explodes outward. The young man beside Leroy points upward. 3C! My brother's in 3C! Marcus steps between Leroy and the entrance. No. Leroy looks at him. You heard me. That upstairs window was different. You had a way out. There is no way out in there. He said his brother is inside. And you've already done enough. Leroy looks confused by the words. Enough? Yes, enough. For once in your life, let somebody else help. Leroy looks around. The neighbors are trying. Water buckets, ladders, blankets, bare hands. Everyone is helping, but no one can enter the building. They are helping. Then let them. They cannot get inside. Marcus's voice breaks. Neither can you. A violent crash echoes from within. The young man begins sobbing. He's only 14. Leroy looks at him, then toward the entrance. Marcus sees the decision before Leroy makes it. Don't. Daddy, don't you do it. Leroy speaks softly. Maybe I cannot save everybody. Marcus stares at him. Leroy looks toward the burning doorway. But I can save somebody. Marcus reaches for him. Too late. Leroy runs into the building. The second floor landing collapses behind him. Leroy climbs through falling debris. A flaming section of ceiling crashes onto the steps. He shields his face, moves around it. The heat is unbearable. Flames consume the far end of the corridor. Leroy finds apartment 3C. The door is blocked by fallen plaster. He pushes against it. It does not move. Can you hear me? Yes. Move away from the door. I can't find it. Follow my voice. Move away from me. The boy coughs. Leroy braces his shoulder against the door, pushes. Nothing. He steps back, kicks near the lock. The frame splinters. A second kick. The door opens. Leroy enters. Smoke fills the room. Flames crawl across the kitchen ceiling. Leroy finds a boy crouched beneath a table. I found you. The boy looks up, terrified. I can't breathe. Leroy removes the white cloth from his wrist, places it over the boy's mouth. Breathe through this. The boy does. Leroy pulls him to his feet. My leg hurts. Leroy looks down. A fallen chair has pinned the boy's ankle. Leroy lifts it away, helps him stand. I can't walk. That is all right. Leroy lifts him onto his back. Are we gonna die? Leroy pauses. He does not lie. I am going to try very hard not to. The boy clings to him. Leroy carries him into the hallway. The staircase is no longer accessible. Fire has cut off the way down. Leroy searches for another route. He sees a rear window, moves toward it. Leroy forces open the window. The fire escape is old, rusting, but intact. He climbs onto it, carrying the boy. The metal shakes. A section breaks loose beneath them. Leroy catches the railing with one hand. The boy, ah! Leroy pulls them both back onto the platform. Do not look down. I already did. Then please do not do it again. Even now. His sincerity is unintentionally funny. The boy lets out a frightened Leroy continues downward. Moments later, the sound of fire engines finally approaches. The crowd turns. Relief spreads through the street. Marcus does not. He stares only at the building. Then, someone points toward the alley. There! Leroy emerges from between the buildings carrying the boy. The young man runs toward them. David! He takes his brother into his arms. The brothers collapse together on the sidewalk. Marcus reaches Leroy. You're done. Leroy. That is not a question. Leroy nods. Yes, Daddy. Marcus pulls him into an embrace. For the first time, Leroy allows himself to be held. Fendi trucks fill the street. Firefighters leap into action. Hoses uncoil. Water blasts the building. A fire captain surveys the structure. Clear the sidewalk. Everybody back. Firefighters begin checking the rescued residents. A paramedic approaches Leroy. Sit down. I am all right. You've inhaled smoke. Sit. Leroy reluctantly sits on the curb. Marcus remains beside him. A firefighter places an oxygen mask near Leroy's face. Leroy gently moves it aside. The others may need it more. We have more than one. Leroy considers this. Oh. The paramedic places the mask over his face. Marcus almost, but he is still shaken. Firefighters carry the last known resident from the front entrance. The fire captain checks a handwritten list. That's everybody. A tired cheer rises from the crowd. Residents embrace. Marcus looks down at Leroy. You hear that? Everybody's out. Leroy nods. He closes his eyes, exhausted. Then, a woman pushes through the crowd, barefoot. Her dress is covered with soot. My baby! No one hears her at first. Where is my baby? The fire had taken everything Leroy had left. His strength, his breath, almost his life. But somewhere inside that building, a child was still waiting. And Leroy Green had never learned how to walk away. To be continued. If you enjoyed this episode, like the video, subscribe to Reelz, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next.